Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BFRDP PD meeting. I want to extend thanks to the BFRDP Clearinghouse for working with our staff here and making this a successful PD meeting. So kudos to you all, as well as kudos to the USDA-NIFA staff that are here. My name is Melvin Carter. I am the Division Director of the Agricultural Systems Division here in the Institute of Food Production and Sustainability. BFRDP's goals is to educate, mentor, and provide technical assistance in creating and sustaining the next generation of farmers and ranchers to replace our aging farm population. With today's average age of 58, there is an urgent need to ensure that strategies are in place to grow our next generation of farmers and ranchers. We have key challenges that must be addressed if we are to adequately work with aspiring and new farmers. We must provide access to our next generation of farmers that include land access, capital, marketing, business, as well as production skills. Without growing new farmers, we stand to lose the capacity to grow crops, livestock, fruits and vegetables for our sustainability. We want to ensure that young farmers are being trained and mentored, as well as being provided apprenticeship by our BFRDP project directors, as well as retired farmers. This will provide enhanced access to farmland and strengthen their business skills to improve farming operations as a business enterprise. Again, I want to thank you for your participation in this 23 project director meeting. And I want to challenge you to be engaged and to learn from one another, as well take best practices you see here back to your region for success with your farmers and ranchers. Now I'd like to pass this over to Dr. Denis, Ebodaghe, your national program leader.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. I would like to welcome all of you, our project directors, and also our BFRDP Clearinghouse, Kevin Clare, Curtis Mankin, Katie Nichols, Bob Craven. We thank you all for organizing this conference. And for our project directors, we appreciate you taking the time to attend this very project directors meeting. It is a good thing that we are having face-to-face meeting. We apologize we cannot be with you at this time. And the key emphasis here, please, is when you are having your reporting put together, please make note of the fact that you are reporting changes in behavior, knowledge, condition, and enhanced farm income. These are very important. You do not want to measure outcomes and then they are not in quantifiable terms. You do not want to have outputs or activities being reported as outcomes. That will not be very good. And most importantly, we want to ensure that all the outcomes you share with us are those that we can report to Congress, because Congress wants to see the investment in the efforts that have been put together at the federal level. On the last day of this very meeting, please I see that you have a poll conducted to have a choice as to where you would like to see the next 2024 project directors meeting held. Again, we appreciate your coming to this very conference, and we hope to see you in the near future. And I would like to pass it on to Iesha at this time. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Iesha McGruder. I am a new program specialist here at the BFRDP program. And I would like to welcome you all here today and ask that you all take advantage of these next 3 days to network and get to know one another. Thank you. And I would like to pass it on to Rebecca.
Hello all, and again, thank you for your participation here at the 2023 BFRDP PD meeting. We are very excited for you all to have the opportunity to meet and engage with each other over the next couple days. As Iesha said, my name is Bekah Hanson, and I am the BFRDP Program Specialist with USDA-NIFA. In addition to Denis's comments on BFRDP outcomes-based reporting, we want to highlight to you all that we have published an updated BFRDP outcomes-based reporting guide. And you can see the QR link here as well. This guide highlights report reporting, RVS reporting, what we're looking for regarding data tracking and measures, and a summary of reporting steps for BFRDP grantees. So we do encourage you to go ahead and take a look at that. Second, we would like to highlight that we plan on having an upcoming BFRDP program-specific grant writing webinar in the near future and before the next solicitation of BFRDP proposals. So please do keep an eye out for that upcoming webinar. And finally, on the final day of this meeting, there will be an opportunity to provide your input for the future of BFRDP. So we do encourage you to candidly provide your input on how to make the program better. And we really appreciate your feedback. Thank you for your contributions to BFRDP, and we do look forward to hearing more about your project progress and achievements in the future.